It's like magic.
Hello YouTube, hello Twitch, welcome to Side B of Awesome Hardware. This is episode 94. We're getting close to our 100th episode, which is insane. We definitely have some awesome shit planned for our 100th episode. There's in no way, shape, or form that we have not given that any more in-depth thought than it deserves, because we are planners and we love surprising you. So we're gonna have some good shit for our 100th episode.
Everything's
in order.
It's all laid out in advance.
It's all we've been methodically planning this out for months. Actually, it will be spiritually changing for all of your lives. But if you guys are not familiar with this show, it's a live show that Paul and I do every single Tuesday. We live stream it to twitch.tv/awesomehardware, as well as our respective YouTube channels. On YouTube, it's actually broken up into two halves. This week, the first half aired on Paul's channel, so if you haven't seen that yet, there's a link in my description. You can go watch that. This is Side B on my channel here at Bitwit, and you can just continue if you want to just pick up where we left off on Paul's half. You can do so. Twitch pretty much just stays consistent. We stream the whole show to that channel, so you don't have to do any messing around. You don't have to jump around from one channel to the next. It's a joint channel that we share.
You get to watch the costume changes in between halves.
Costume changes, yes, and the bathroom breaks. It's all very visceral. But we like to talk about tech and drink some beers while we're at it on this show, and we like to have a good time. So this is just a way for us to unwind and chill and chat, and perhaps even take a look at some of your systems later on in this episode with PIMPED PC. Thank you all for your submissions. We'll be looking at those very soon. But we've got some stuff to sell you. We've got things to sell you that you should buy to support all the stupid shit that we do. My store is bitwit.tech/store, where you can buy shirts and hoodies. Hoodies, by the way, are $10 off right now.
Hey,
so they're only $45 to begin with, so $10 off is actually a pretty good deal. They're super comfy, so I've been told from people, friends, and my mom. My mom bought a sweater.
You can't get this one anymore, though.
My mom bought a sweater. No, you can't.
No more CPU cooler.
Those are all out?
Sold out.
Those are out. But the Stay Positive ones are still there.
Stay positive.
And the mugs. The mugs are new, and the glasses are newish. They've been selling really well lately, and I'm happy about that. Sometimes I overclock myself. It's a caffeine reference, and also a tech reference. It's hilarious. And also, the words in the circle are pretty cool. Am I right? Glasses with the Bitwit logo. Those are also fun.
We're going to try these out soon.
Yes. I'll be having some of those in the studio very shortly. So
super excited.
And also, Paul's got a store as well. So you can go to paulshardware.net to look at all of his merchandise. He's got women's shirts. He's got decals now. He's got shirts and hoodies, all the same, polos, glasses, mugs, and his zero enforcement shirt. Zero enforcement shirt. Wow, I'm surprised I even managed to get that out. Zero insertion force shirt, which is also been flying off the shelf. How does my brain somehow just skip?
I need to make a new special version of the shirt. Zero enforcement shirt. That'd be awesome.
So if you guys happen to pick up anything from either of our stores, you will get a Johnson at the end of this show. And it will be a little offensive, but you'll enjoy it. I guarantee you. It'll hurt, but it'll feel good as well. So let's move on to our first segment here, which is a continuation of where Paul left off, and that's tech news. We're going to talk about some tech news and stuff that's been happening in our beloved industry lately, particularly this week, ever since last Tuesday's show. The first bit of news that I wanted to touch on was about Razer and how they have acquired the company Nextbit. I'm not too familiar with Nextbit, but apparently they make smartphones, so obviously this is leading everyone to think, oh, Razer's gonna obviously make a smartphone now, which I'm not too opposed to. I think they would make a pretty sexy smartphone that, might actually be the first smartphone ever to have, integrated chroma RGB lighting, to be honest. That's the first thing I thought of.
That'd be a new feature. Phones don't have that right now.
But you know what I mean? If I were to have something, I'm so sick and tired of, systems with RGB lighting, because it's just old news. It's been happening for a few years now. Why not phones?
Except for my newest RGB build for January,
of course,
awesome.
Except yours, which was very fun. Really good. It actually had the best JPEG that I've ever seen inside of it.
That was Joe. This stuff Joe comes up with sometimes is quite good.
That was gold. That was pure gold.
I saw it because he had to send me that image file, because Joe edits my videos. He doesn't edit. He edits one or two, maybe two videos a week for me, and he sends me the files, and I load it up and kind of scrub through it, and maybe make a change here and there before I render it out. So it's downloading So I was like,
where does this go? Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
that was my big question. Watching through, I was like, where did he put this? Anyway.
The perfect time, too.
Okay, sorry.
All right, so Nextbit apparently makes the Robin smartphone. That's one of their devices, which has gotten mixed reviews. It's got a lot of good hardware that's packed in a relatively small form factor, but the all-plastic frame that it's in has been noted to be a little bit on the not-so-durable side.
It's very squared off.
Very squared. It looks very. I kind of like the look. It's very monolithic and stuff. But Razer now has acquired all their assets, and I would imagine all of their R&D assets for the mobile market, so that they can potentially get a fast track into the mobile market themselves by producing or manufacturing a smartphone in later years. Or who knows? We could all be totally off base, and they're not making a smartphone. They're making something different. Maybe it's a tablet. I don't know. Something like a Shield. I don't know.
I saw Min tweet. He's like, I don't know, it seemed very tongue-in-cheek. It's like, why would we... something I don't know what his actual tweet was. It was something like, why would we buy a smartphone company if we're going to make a smartphone or something? Or maybe something more like...
Obvious reasons.
Never mind, it's your half of the show. I'm going to stop talking.
They're going to make a smartphone that has, like, 2 other screens that pop out the sides. You know, like 2 companion screens.
That would be sweet.
Triple monitor setup on your phone, and then it'll get stolen.
As long as all the phones have a glowing green Razer logo on the back.
And some RGB lighting underneath.
Like that.
Then we're in good shape. But yeah, RGB phones coming to a store near you, I would imagine. Let's move on to our next story really quick, which is a rumor that comes from WCCF Tech. Actually, they've re-reported this from Zolcorn. Zolcorn rumors are saying that there will be no 6-core models in the Ryzen family, and that Ryzen CPUs could cost upwards of $700 potentially.
Damn.
So this is one of those rumors that I'm not sure if I want to be true, especially with the high prices thing. The older internally used code names for Ryzen was, you remember they were like S3 or SR3, SR5, and SR7. It kind of followed that 357 nomenclature that Intel did.
Because SR is Summit Ridge.
Summit Ridge, yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And so the SR7s were supposed to be the 8-core 16-thread chips, with the SR3s being the entry-level 4-core 8-thread chips, and then you had SR5, which was the 6-core 12 threads. So according to Zolcorn rumors, the SR5s are not going to be in production. So you're not going to be seeing any 6-core, this is all speculation, you're not going to be seeing any 6-core Ryzen chips for some reason.
This chart says the SR5 is 8-core 8-thread.
Yes, so that's exactly what they're proposing here in their rumors, is that the SR5s are going to be 8-core 8 threads instead of 6-core 12 threads, which means they will have more cores but less threads, obviously. They're also purportedly not going to have SMT enabled, but they will still have an unlocked multiplier. So my question was, why would AMD opt out of having a 6-core chip, if anything? And there's no speculation as to why that would be in the article, but
there isn't.
No, there isn't. They don't say like why they think that's the case. At least I didn't see that. My thought was maybe the higher core count on a Ryzen chip could beat out the performance of a equivalently priced Intel 6-core. So maybe they just decided to do away with the 6 cores altogether. Just opt for the 8-core because they can price it the same as like a 6800K, for example, but still get more theoretical performance out of it. I don't know. That's just a really, really minor speculation.
Or perhaps, since we're speculating minorly, what if the developments of the Ryzen CPUs are such that the building blocks of the CPU itself are in 4-core chunks? Whatever, like, if you look back at previous architecture, there was like shared, there's some shared stuff between the cores and everything.
Yeah.
So what if they can't break it down for any further than 4 cores?
Right. So it's got to be multiples of 4.
So you got 4 cores or 8 cores.
Right.
In which case, maybe they would do a 12-core.
Yeah.
I don't know. We're just
that would be
spitballing.
That would be the mind-blowing,
just throwing it out there,
like, leak of the year if they actually did a 12-core. That would be nuts.
It seems like for the sake of diversity and for having a product stack that could meet different price points, that a 6-core would make a lot of sense. I mean, I did a Ryzen speculation video, which was based on nothing. It was pretty much useless, but Like, I was kind of excited about the potential for where a 6-core could sit and what it could do, assuming the instructions per clock are there, compared to some of the Intel CPUs. So it's kind of disappointing for it not to be there, because it would provide a lot more diversity, especially towards the lower end of the product stack. Yeah. But if it means that there is more than an 8-core out there, that would be cool.
Right.
But who knows?
Yeah,
who knows for sure.
We'll have to see. Well, maybe AMD's holding some cards there that they haven't really released into the ether. That, you know, a 12-core could be their secret weapon. We don't really know.
Vega cards.
Ooh, Vega cards. That's
like
a whole other story right there.
Cards?
Yeah, potentially. But the other part of this rumor was that the Ryzen SKUs, which are going to go toe-to-toe with the 6900K, which is a $1,000 Intel processor, may cost between $580 to $720 US, which is quite a bit higher on the high end of that estimation. It's on the high end of what we all kind of hoped that it would be, which was around the $500 to $600 price point. Which is still, I mean, $720 is still significantly cheaper than like $1,100, like the 6900K is on most retail sites right now. But it's not the soul-crushing, you know, deal that we were all kind of hoping for. And I think we're a little unfair sometimes in our hopes and assumptions that when one competitor tries to match another, like that they're gonna just slash the price in half. Like, oh, they're gonna obviously like have the same performance but slash the price 50% or whatever it is, cut it in half. And I think at the same time AMD needs to turn some kind of a profit. So while $720 is steep, and that's more for the enthusiast market for sure, no casual gamer's gonna buy that chip. They still need, you know, AMD still needs to turn a profit, and it is still significantly cheaper than an $1,100 equivalent if they are going to be going toe-to-toe in a lot of these benchmarks, which, according to the demos that we've seen, it's showing comparable performance and even edging out the 6900K in certain rendering tests, which is really reassuring. So, I don't know. What do you think if it came out, if an 8-core, 16-core, 8-core, 16-thread Ryzen chip came out and it rivaled 6900K, but it was $720, would you be upset or would you be happy? Like, would that disappoint you? Like, fuck, or would you be like, that's awesome? Or somewhere in between.
720.
Yeah, we're talking about the high end of this rumor.
And rivaling a 6900K.
Rivaling a 6900K, trading blows with a 6900K.
I mean, that's still $350 to $400 less than a 6900K.
Yeah.
So.
But do you think?
All right. I'll say I think it's good. I'll say I think it's good because that does seem a little bit higher than what people are expecting, but that would mean that AMD is more confident in the performance of the chip, and that not just in specific applications or tests or rendering demos or whatever, but across the board,
it's going to be well-rounded.
It can compete more.
Yeah.
So I would say that maybe that's a good thing. And I mean, I've said before too that AMD would do well to have some higher-end products, some more expensive products, rather than like being like, oh well, AMD's the budget option. You know, like all their CPUs cost well under $200.
Right. And
that kind of thing. So, yeah, I would say it would be a good thing.
Yeah, I agree.
Just to throw it out there. Yeah.
I think a lot of the hype surrounding Ryzen and how like their flagship CPUs are going to be in the $500 price point, I think that kind of kills it. It's like when a lot of people say like, oh, like there's too much hype around a movie, and you go watch the movie, it's like, well, I've heard like so many amazing things about this movie that my imagination kind of topped any kind of reality that could have happened.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's kind of a similar situation. $720 for a 6800 or 6900K class chip is still phenomenally a good deal, but because there's been so much hype about it being more in the $500 range, we look at that and we go, comparatively speaking, that's kind of a disappointment. So, yeah, I'm in the same boat with you.
So does that mean the 8-core 8-thread version would be the wait, what's the other price? $580?
I would think so. Yeah, because if the SR3s are going to be 4-core 8 threads, they're probably going to more closely compete with like the flagship Kaby Lake chips.
See, that would make less sense to me.
What would? The 500 or
the 580? I don't know.
For the SR5s?
Because Intel has 8-thread chips, 7700Ks that are $350.
True.
I don't know. I mean, and obviously that's 8 threads, considering hyper-threading, which isn't the same as 8 cores.
Right.
But I feel like for 8 cores, 8 threads, AMD would have to be more competitive with a 7700K. Like, it should outperform it. It might outperform it in instructions per clock. It shouldn't be faster instructions per clock, is from what we know.
Because it'll have more cores too.
Because Skylake and Kaby Lake are both a little bit faster. Well,
Yeah.
Skylake at least, and Kaby Lake not really.
But it's going to crush it when it comes to encoding and stuff, I think.
Yeah, so.
Because the cores are not, like, the threads are not going to compare to physical cores, I think. But I don't know. There's just so much speculation. I hate speculating because I don't know. I like dealing with facts more so than rumor. So it always, I don't know. I'm too indecisive. I'm too indecisive when it comes to rumors. I'm bad at speculating and stuff. But but that's pretty exciting. I hope these rumors are all wrong. That there is a 6-core part and that they're less than $700. But we'll see. Let's move on to our next story, which is about NVIDIA and their Founders Edition cards, which, hey, were actually a huge hit in the gaming PC DIY market.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, according to recent reports, these Founders Edition cards that, granted, were more expensive than the custom add and board partner variants, have actually been selling really well and have done really well in the market, which is insane. Because they're priced more and they're not quite as good in terms of cooling or acoustics, but for whatever reason, maybe it's just because they look really good. Like, I really love the way they look and stuff.
In some situations, because it's a blower style cooler, it can be better.
True, but there are also add and board partner cards that are also blower style and that offer potentially better temps and better acoustics that have actually worked on the reference design to achieve those. But I think it's also because perhaps it looks badass. I think customers at the end of the day, there's a lot of early adopters these days when it comes to the high-end PC market that want it first.
Look at all those look at all the triangles.
And so like these, exactly. There's so many triangles. Like, come on, PC buyers like that looks like it's like tessellated. Like you can see the texture polygons on it. It looks badass. It's a really nice and consumers, at the end of the day, it sucks, but they buy with their eyes. And so if they see something that looks good, they're going to buy it. And especially NVIDIA has the advantage of releasing their own self-manufactured Founders Edition cards before any of the add and board partners are allowed to release their custom variants.
This is a Photoshop of a theoretical 1080 Ti, by the way. Just in case.
We don't even know if that's real or if that's what it looks like. We've been told. But so NVIDIA is trying to put their hands in the pot when it comes to basically getting all these sales that have been erupting from the DIY PC market, which has been increasing, by the way. There's been a steady growth in the DIY PC market, not to be confused with the OEM PC market, by the way. And the add and board partners as well have been profiting a lot from this growth, as there's a market shift towards the high-end side of hardware. In fact, there's some estimates that claim the add and board partner GPU market alone makes a profit net income of a few $100 million every quarter. And this is just for the top 10 graphics cards manufacturers like Asus Tech, Gigabyte, MSI, Palette Microsystems.
I don't know. I'd say Palette, but I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not too familiar with them. Zotac and Colorful. And NVIDIA kind of wants a piece of this. They want in on the action. They want some of this revenue stream. So they've somehow managed to diversify their existing product line with by having the Founders Edition card, because normally, like in the past, they've been
colorful. Sorry, I'm just reading that top 10 graphics card manufacturer. Colorful is mostly in China.
Yes.
In Asia region.
Yes, they are.
It's crazy, like that. I don't know. Galax we're a little bit more familiar with because they did used to distribute more heavily to the U.S. But like Colorful is just one of those companies that's like didn't know they existed until Newegg tried to partner with them to bring them to the U.S. and I don't think that really panned out.
Yeah,
apparently they're huge in China.
I mean, when you go to Computex, you see a bunch of Colorful stuff.
Yeah.
I've seen tons of colorful stuff there.
Especially with all the RGB trends going on recently.
Yeah. Totes. Hey, good one. Solid.
Sorry.
Put in the bag. So, NVIDIA is trying to hop on the bandwagon of getting shit tons of money, you know, from gamers like us, trying to sell their own self-manufactured cards, which they would technically turn a higher profit on than the add and board partner stuff, since they're only selling the GPU in that instance. And it looks like they're going to continue their past trend that we've already seen of releasing their own cards before the add and board partners launch their custom ones to snag some of the initial sales. Now, that being said, as well as the Founders Edition cards have been doing, I would still imagine that most of the market share for high-end gamers is going to go to the add and board partners, because they're, at the end of the day, offering cheaper prices for higher clock speeds and better cooling and acoustics. So that also, this was not in the article, but this is my own kind of thought, was do you ever think that NVIDIA would eventually one day create a reference card or a Founders Edition variant that had, like, you know, a dual 100 millimeter fans, like an open air shroud that, like, kind of like mimicked more so an add and board partner card that had better cooling, maybe was factory overclocked by NVIDIA. I don't know.
I think there have been NVIDIA reference designs in the past that aren't the blower style cooler thing. I mean, I feel like they've...
That's true.
I think they've embraced that because it's more flexible. You know, they're in a typical full-size chassis, you know, there's better designs, but when you look at the wide range of applications, especially when you look at like OEM installations and stuff and smaller proprietary design cases and everything, a blower style is just a little bit more versatile in that range.
True.
So I think that's why they've gone with that more recently, but I don't know. I mean, overall, I mean, NVIDIA controls the GPUs. They could just some point be like, you know what? There's only NVIDIA graphics cards now. Like, we're not going to give our GPUs to anyone else. And if you want the 1080 or the 1180 or whatever it is, like, you can only buy the NVIDIA version or, like, the 3 ones we make or something. I don't think they'll really do that or whatever. But, I mean, they do have control. And they certainly do have the ability to, like Kyle said, delay providing these specific details that the add-in board manufacturers need to make the cards until the very, very, very last minute.
Oh yeah, they can keep it in the dark as long as they want. And
so if you always like when there's a launch and like, oh, there's only this one version of the 1080 that launched or whatever, and you got to wait a few weeks or sometimes even a month or more for the add-in board partner cards to come in, it's because the add-in board partners didn't have the GPU or like the reference specs for the layout until pretty much like the day of launch anyway. So they're kind of starting from square one early on. I mean, and that's not always how it goes. It changes sometimes, but
it's kind of NVIDIA giving themselves like a guaranteed sales period with just their cards before add-in board partners are allowed to kind of dominate the market.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of that we've seen it in the past where the NVIDIA reference card comes out first, and it's not until a few weeks or a month later when we start seeing the custom variants come out. So NVIDIA definitely gets a share of that. But it looks like, based on how the Founders Edition card has done so well, both for like the GTX 1070 and the 1080, that they are definitely going to be continuing that trend in 2017, moving forward, and probably with, you know, future generation of their GPUs. So interesting. It's interesting. I was like, that's going to flop, because when I first saw the Founders Edition when we were in Austin, I was like, no one's going to buy that. That's like way more expensive, and it's got shitty cooling. And
it didn't seem to It didn't seem to make sense because of the price difference.
Yeah.
Like, why would people spend that much more money when you can get equivalent or better performance for less?
Right.
But yeah, I mean, it's not a bad card. It's not a bad design.
No.
It's a completely metal shroud. I mean, there's lots of...
And it looks better than most add-in board partner variants.
I just got...
Physically, it just looks better.
I just got an Asus Strix 1080, which I hadn't worked with before. And I didn't realize that the shroud for it was plastic.
The shroud what?
The shroud for the Asus Strix 1080.
Oh, yeah.
Is plastic. And I mean... I understand, and there's benefits to it too. I mean, it's more lightweight. It reduces...
Doesn't sag as much?
Yeah, it doesn't sag as much. But
Sure.
I don't know, something about metal always feels sturdier and higher quality and like more valuable than plastic. So something like this, you know, where you have a completely metal shroud, and they used to use like some special alloy metal for it, and then it was too expensive, so they stopped. But it was like magnesium, I forget. Back when like the 690 first launched, I think. Anyway.
But yeah, Good job, NVIDIA,
Yeah,
I guess.
good to know.
Let's move on to our next story, which is about the Hyperloop.
Hyperloop.
Elon Musk doing his shit, man. Killing it with the Hyperloop game. There was a pod competition between a bunch of colleges, very smart colleges that me or Paul would never get accepted into.
I thought... Wait.
What?
No, you've read this article. You know more than me.
What about it?
Oh, no, there was one high school team, right? Wasn't there one team for a high school team?
I didn't read the article that much.
Okay.
But just to give you a little context, the Hyperloop was kind of a concept that Elon Musk had come up with, which was a theoretical pod system that runs in these low-pressure tubes that span miles and miles long, and it would allow these pods to hover along a track, due to magnetic skis, and it would minimize friction due to that, and basically be able to transport people at a lightning-fast speed. I don't mean that literally, not lightning-fast, but super fast speeds. In 2013, for example, Musk imagined speeds over 700 miles an hour.
That's pretty fast.
With a final version of this technology. And he opened the project initially thinking like, okay, I'm gonna change the world, make it a better place. And he's like, no, fuck it. I've got like Tesla to worry about. I've got like the rockets at SpaceX to worry about. Like, I don't want to handle this project alone on my own. So he basically opened up his ideas and all of his like research and stuff to the public so that people could work on it themselves. And that kind of spawned a bunch of different startups for Hyperloop pods, as well as this competition that happened last week in Los Angeles, I believe. So,
it says the LA mayor was there, so...
Yes, so...
I feel like...
LA, yes, yeah. Correct. So 3 schools got to load up their own pods into this loop that was built by SpaceX, which spans about 3/4 of a mile long. And these top students, they basically had these epic pods. They had like the most sophisticated pods out of the whole competition, which were capable of magnetic levitation, which is one of the notable features of the Hyperloop, as well as braking and the potential for running on their own power. And just some tech jargon here. The test tube had a 6-foot outer diameter and was filled with a track that could support pods on air bearings. Think of an air hockey table as the example they give, as well as magnetic levitation and more traditional wheels. The tube was built in 50-foot sections welded together with a door on either end of the track to seal off the tube while depressurizing and repressurizing the enclosed environment. So, you can kind of see some videos here. This is one of the student tracks. They didn't reach astronomical speeds. They were a couple of them were built for to sustain up to 250 miles an hour, but actually the top speed for any of these was 58 miles an hour. And the students were saying that was basically due to the pusher. There was like this device or this unit that would push, kind of like a bobsled, like how they kind of push off initially, and then they use like the friction of the ice and like their weight to carry them through the race.
There's like a few dudes behind each pod that run and push it off.
They're like few dudes behind each pod that run and push it off, but those dudes weren't strong enough to like push them all the way, so they only got up to 58 miles an hour.
Stronger dudes.
They need stronger dudes. SpaceX now hiring stronger dudes. No college experience required to work at SpaceX. But you can read the article if you want to find out the results on which teams won. There was MIT, WARR, and Delft. Those are the universities that participated in the loop itself. At the event, Musk was there, and he said that he's currently working on building a hole.
I was wondering if you were going to include this as part of
Of course I am. This is the best part. He's building a hole in LA to place a loop tunnel inside of in order to alleviate LA traffic. So by building a tube that goes, a tunnel system underneath the ground, it's not going to fuck with any LA traffic, which thank God for me and Paul, that's not going to be an issue that fucks with us. He went on to say, like, building holes, like he quote unquote, I find holes quite exciting, he said, which I thought was the highlight of this article, and that should be put on his gravestone when he, during his untimely death.
Me too. I'm with you there. I'm with you there, Elon.
I'm all part of the whole brigade.
He's already digging his first tunnel.
And
I follow him on Twitter. I saw him tweet this like several weeks ago. He's just like in traffic. He's like, "Fuck this."
I'm tweeting about some groundbreaking technology.
I'm gonna just bypass traffic and dig a bunch of series of tubes and tunnels underneath LA. So he just bought a boring machine. I read a little bit about this. Like, he has no permits or anything like that. He just bought the machine and he started to dig. And
no one's gonna stop him. He'll pay him off.
Worry about that.
Here's $1 billion.
Worry about the permits and everything later.
Yeah, he's real life Tony Stark, badass.
That's fun.
So he says the tunnel's going to go 3D to prevent traffic bottlenecks within the tunnel itself, which I would imagine.
What does that mean?
Means
3 miles deep.
3 miles. I don't know.
3 no. 3
I don't
meters.
know. I don't know what 3D means. They're gonna stack on top of each other or something, or they're gonna like overlap. I don't know. I don't know what he means by that. There was no explanation in the article.
It's already 3D, like just by
reality.
Because you have 3 dimensions in reality, and the whole must have both height, width, and depth.
Give us 4D, damn it! Where's your innovation?
I know.
God.
We always start bypassing some of the laws of physics if we really want to save energy.
Build a pyramid, asshole. All right, so that's good stuff. Good fun talk with Elon Musk. Let's move on to our next topic, which is about Intel Optane memory, and just a brief mention that they will be shipping. That they are now shipping to reviewers for testing and things like that. If you guys were partners, I should say. So CES, Intel announced that they were basically ready with their Optane products in the form of compact, slot format, low capacity cache SSDs, which is one of the main features with the Z270 chipset. You can now use Intel Optane memory or storage as really hyper fast cache for your other drive. So very similar to when we saw, I think it was it Z67? That chipset when
I'd have been P67
SRT.
P67
was it P? Okay, that was when
Z68.
Oh, Z68 was when SRT.
Smart Response, which was when SSDs were just first starting to take hold.
Caching.
And it was a built-in feature of the motherboard where you could connect up a low-capacity SSD, like a 30 gig SSD or 60 gig SSD. It did have a limit to how much storage it could use, and you could tie that to your hard drive so that the operating system would just see the single drive.
Super fast access.
But frequently accessed data would be cached on the SSD, and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
The way that the Optane stuff was pitched to me, I feel like was operating in a deep, something like a little deeper than just a cache for the storage.
Yeah.
Something even more like an additional cache layer between the storage and the system memory.
Yeah.
That was accessible or something, but I'm not sure, and none of the products are available yet, so we don't really know.
Yeah, so Intel had also released their DDR4 DIMMs to fit servers, for example, as well as PCs. So we might see these units shipping very soon. The Optane demos have shown us some pretty insane performance. Obviously, it's faster than conventional storage options, but it's still unclear how 3D Crosspoint, or I'm sorry, X-Point? No, Crosspoint. It is Crosspoint. 3D Crosspoint technology is going to perform when those units are placed within used in place of RAM DIMMs. So we don't really know. There's a lot of speculation on how they're going to perform because no one that's one thing we haven't seen too many leaks on. We've seen tons of leaks on Ryzen and how Ryzen chips are going to perform, but we don't know. We haven't seen any more information on actual testing when it comes to Optane SSDs. And it's also saying with Optane memory DIMMs available, it's thought that servers are going to be able to greatly expand the high performance, hot storage capacity available, and let me see. That's pretty much all the article had to say. Is that they're new units shipping out to partners right now, and they are going to be available in DIMM form factors.
So what I believe the article means by partners, by the way, is not necessarily reviewers, but
like HP and shit like that.
Other manufacturers who will integrate these products and integrate Intel Optane technology into the products that they're selling.
Yes.
So, maybe motherboard manufacturers, that kind of thing. But
so don't expect any reviews from like PC Per or even from us anytime soon. I would say that's still probably a long shot, but
I am very curious to see where this goes later this year, though, because of all of the parts of your computer, storage is still the slowest part, even if you take into account SSDs. So anything that can be done to increase that performance should have a pretty significant impact on overall PC performance.
Yeah.
And this could be, I mean, this could be very, very useful even for stuff like gaming. When it comes to like loading levels or something like that, like there'd be zero lag. You would have instantaneous.
I'm curious if a lot of Intel Optane SSDs are going to come in like 32 gig form factors or capacities because they are going to be targeted specifically for cache drives.
Yeah.
You know, or if they're going to be more standard to, you know, what the current offering of NVMe SSDs are, with like 256, 512 gigs. I hope they offer like lower capacity drives that are cheaper for the entry level market.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you were to buy into a Z270
well, if it's something
board.
like, I mean, if you go back far enough, like memory, you like older systems. I mean, if you go back to when memory capacities were 256K and 5, you know, before they were even getting into the megabytes range, like adding memory to your system could give you a night and day performance change just because you had to stop using like a page file or something like that, and you could actually you could fit everything in the system memory. Yeah. Like, is this going to be something like that where like dropping in a 32 gig Optane SSD is going to provide a pretty significant boost? Like, we're not really sure or anything like that, but yeah, making it affordable could be a thing. I'm also curious about the performance difference between something like an implementation with like Kaby Lake, where you have high-speed I/O, which is connected through which is connected up to the CPU specifically for input-output modules, but is somewhat acts like a switch, so you don't necessarily have full, like they upped it from 20 to 24 PCIe lanes with Kaby Lake, but you don't have necessarily the full bandwidth available for all of those PCIe lanes. So a lot of the new motherboards that are coming out that have multiple M.2 slots, you can't necessarily connect all the M.2 slots up with SSDs and have the full performance of all of them. Sure. So how's that going to affect the performance of something like Optane? I don't know. We're still not sure. Lots of questions.
That's a good point. Yes, TBD, so to speak. But let's move on to our next topic, which is about the first potential 4K Blu-ray drive for PCs from Pioneer.
Yay, Pioneer.
Only
in Japan?
Only in Japan for now.
Aww.
Which is a bummer. There are other ways to watch back or play back Ultra HD Blu-rays in the US, which would include the Xbox One Scorpio, or Xbox One S, I should say. Yeah, Xbox One S. Or the Sony X800, which is a dedicated player. It's probably going to be expensive.
There's several dedicated players. They all cost in the $350 to $600 range.
They're pretty
which
intense.
Makes the Xbox One S like
way more
far
value
and away
oriented.
the most practical.
Because at least you can play some games
purchase
on that
to make.
shit.
Because yeah, it's you can play back the 4K Blu-rays.
Yep.
And play games.
But this could be a very nice addition to your HTPC for those of you who have or are planning to get a 4K TV. You just bought a 4K TV, didn't you, Paul?
Yes.
It would be nice to play some native like Ultra HD discs that are just like fully uncompressed. You just slot it in. You know, as long as you have the software. And
that's why I got the Xbox One S.
Yep. You did get the S.
Not that I've used it for that yet, but whatever.
Yeah, but you can. You will and you can. You can and you will.
I have that ability.
Of course. And so that's really cool. I think this would be a great addition to an HTPC for like a high-end living room home theater environment. You will, however, have to have some beefy specs attached to the PC that you're dropping this 5.25-inch bay drive in, which would be a Core i5 or Core i7 Kaby Lake CPU. Yeah! Yes, so
Kaby Lake only?
All your 6th gen and under garbage CPUs that are good for nothing and completely useless now, we'll just not cut it. You need the latest and greatest if you're going to run some Ultra HD Blu-ray shit. Come on now. So yeah, I thought that was pretty intense. I thought that was a little much to ask. Like, do you really need, like, come on.
No, it's not needed.
I have an Ivy Bridge 3770K in my HTPC right now.
It is not needed. It is required.
Easily run. It could easily handle Ultra HD 4K playback.
It was coordinated between Intel and probably Pioneer and other companies in order to create a false need to upgrade to Kaby Lake, much in the same way they're doing with 4K.
Oh, yeah?
Playback for Netflix. And I think it's pretty stupid, honestly. This is one of the things I've talked about multiple times before. It's just freaking stupid.
It is.
And they'll try to explain it away. This is the thing that irritates me the most. They try to be like, oh, well, Kaby Lake has an HEVC like H265 decoder in it, and that's why you need it.
No,
Bullshit.
that's bullshit. Yeah.
That's bullshit. Because one, Skylake had that too. It wasn't as full featured as the Kaby Lake one, but Skylake had it too. And second, any new AMD or NVIDIA GPU also has an H265 decoder in it, which could work just fine.
Yeah.
They do not need to restrict it to Kaby Lake.
Right.
It's basically them saying like, oh, well, it's the same bullshit they did with like DirectX 12. It's like, oh, you gotta have Windows 10.
Yep.
DirectX 12. Garbage.
Yeah,
Anyway.
I agree. Minimum specs should be taken with a grain of salt in instances like this. But at the same time, is that just what they recommend? Or could you use a Skylake chip with this player and still play 4K Blu-rays? I don't know. That would be a cool test.
It's hard to say.
Also, the RAM requirement is pretty... I mean, it's most of us have this. 6 gigs of RAM. But still, if
that's
you're
probably more realistic.
Yeah,
as
of
far
course.
as maintaining.
You're gonna need a lot of system
smooth
memory.
playback and everything.
Yes, and as of course an HDMI 2.0 A port on your 4K monitor that will need to be supporting the video signal.
That makes sense.
Yes, it does. See, totally. Like it's
You
just
need
the
a
CPU
you need
that
a
we have the Coral
You
with.
need a connector that supports 4K in order to play 4K
Yes,
video. See
there's
that?
a
I'll
signal
accept.
that
I accept that.
Yes.
Yes.
But the BDR S11JBK is one of the models, as well as the BDR S11JX.
Which one do you recommend, Kyle?
I don't know. There's the X and there's
The
the
BK or the X?
I'd say the X is the higher end because it's got an X in it, obviously,
There's an X.
and it's also the supposedly the quieter version that Pioneer
it's
claims
quieter.
that Pioneer claims to offer improved audio quality.
All right, that's bullshit too.
When playing,
I saw this before. That's bullshit too. What?
Because it's quieter, obviously. If it's quieter, it's
All right.
better audio quality. Because you're not hearing the CD
they
spin.
could say the drive itself is quieter, which leads to a better
Acoustic
oral
experience.
acoustic experience. Improved audio quality? Bullshit.
Yeah, people
That
are
is-
thinking like, okay, so that means the audio signal coming
It's
from my
digital.
Toslink out
It's
is going to
zeros and ones that
Yeah.
are being read off of a disc. There's nothing that the Blu-ray player can do to make that better, to make it sound better.
Absolutely not.
The digital to analog conversion that happens inside your computer and your sound card, that can
That's
have
all
an
your
effect
sound
on
card
it.
and your DAC.
That can affect. It's a Blu-ray. That's okay. Bullshit. Sorry.
Quieter version.
Wow.
I mean, quieter version. I mean, they
I'll
must be
accept that.
meaning.
Optical drives can be loud. Make a quieter
But
one.
how
with
is?
the,
I mean, why not just make them? Why would
because
you
the
have one
motor,
of them?
because the cost of the motor that spins the drive, that makes sense to me. The cost of the motor that spins the drive for that to be quieter probably costs a little bit more money. That makes sense.
At the same time, are you really going to be watching an Ultra HD Blu-ray disc? Like on very low volume to the point where you could actually hear the optical drive, or if it's on your computer, you'll probably be wearing cans.
No. This I agree with, and having a really quiet optical drive I think is important if you're going to be playing back media from an optical drive. We have a. All right, so you know how I redid our HTPC in the living room.
Mm-hmm.
I switched it to the Fractal Define C as whatever the Define C.
Yeah.
Micro ATX didn't have an optical drive bay. My slim optical drive, my slim Blu-ray drive, is literally taped to the top of the computer right now.
That's horrible.
Because it's USB and it's just plugged into the back. But you can hear it when it's spinning. I mean, when it's a quiet part of the movie or whatever. So I think that's somewhat important. So that would be worth spending a few more bucks.
I don't know. I have a $20 optical drive that I use occasionally, and it does not even bother me remotely, even when it's quiet. So I don't know why a premium drive that can do Ultra HD has an issue with audio at this point. Like, cheap-ass optical drives that, granted, aren't Blu-ray. I don't know if that makes a difference. I don't think there would be. I don't think it would, but if a $25 optical drive is quiet enough for me, then why wouldn't an Ultra HD one be if it's 3 times the cost? I think it's marketing. It's just marketing.
It's not an audiophile.
It's marketing. Clearly,
You're
my
more
ears
of a
aren't
pure-
tuned enough
Yeah.
to hear the high-pitched frequency of, 10,000 kilohertz or whatever.
It's such a distraction when you're trying to
My
enjoy
fragile ears.
Yep.
All right, let's move on to our next segment, which is to fund or not to fund.
Jesus, that's only the first segment we just finished?
But we only have this and Pimp My PC.
Okay.
And then we can skip Q&A because
Alright.
questions are stupid.
Just making sure.
All right, so to fund or not to fund,
Fund
Paul
or
and I
not-
basically look at some
look,
crowdfunded
it's even there.
campaigns.
We've had lower thirds.
Brilliant.
It's ready to go.
We planned it.
Yep.
Let's look at some crowdfunded campaigns. We were going to take a look at 3 of them today and see if they're worth our hard-earned dollars and what exactly they entail. So this first one,
It's
Paul, I will say is the Inverse
most
Mini
versatile
ITX.
small computer case.
It's a Mini ITX case.
I don't like it.
called the Inverse.
Anyone who invests in this is probably a dipshit.
Hey!
Probably.
Hey! You're only saying that because you know
With
for a fact that I invested in
very
this.
minimal.
I will say that this is the first
Critical
crowd.
skills.
If you guys follow me on Twitter, then you already know this. But this was the first crowdfunded campaign that I have ever thrown money at.
All right.
I actually funded it for $129. I got the early bird special to get one of these should it come to market.
Available.
Which is still available. There's 83 out of 100
Look at this.
claimed.
I'm going to be disappointed if
There's
after tonight's awesome hardware, the
Yeah.
other 17 of these aren't claimed.
Yep, there's only 17 left.
I would go and sign up for it myself, but Kyle's already doing a video on it, and it
Aha!
seemed very... He got there first.
Yeah, I was.
So
I win.
what was it about
So-
this case that made you decide I'm going to spend $130 bucks on it?
So what? You're familiar with the Sentry from Dr. Zaber?
Yes.
Okay, so that was another Kickstarter that did really well and was highly reviewed by folks like Lens Tech Tips and Dimitri from Hardware Canucks and things like that. But this kind of builds upon that, and I feel kicks it in the balls by
Wow, that was
allowing
weird.
radiator support up to 240 millimeters
Did you see that?
of radiator goodness. What?
What just happened there?
Whoa. F5.
I just
F5 that shite.
I was just zooming
What
in.
the hell's going on,
I was
Indiegogo?
trying to zoom in on this page. If you get past 100, if you get to 175% zoom, it breaks it. Apparently, we broke Indiegogo.
And it doesn't even play the video.
The video's not playing. All right, never mind.
Good
All right,
lord.
I'm zooming back out. It did not.
That's really
It
strange.
did no good. All right.
So this is a Mini ITX chassis that is extremely slim. It's super portable, and you can fit up to a 240 millimeter radiator inside, along with a full-size graphics card if you wanted to.
Huh.
So that is one of the biggest problems that I saw with the Dr. Zaber Sentry, as well designed as it was. You could not fit an AIO on your CPU, which meant you were pretty much limited to stock speeds out of the box when it came to your CPU. This is I have first-hand experience with this when I built with the Node 202 from Fractal Design.
Yes.
Had full-size graphics support, and that was great. But at the same time, you had to have an air cooler that was no more than 75 millimeters tall, or maybe it was even 54 millimeters tall, now that I think about it, which kind of prevented me from overclocking the 6700K that was in there. So if I had a Z170 board and a Skylake CPU, I was shit out of luck from obtaining higher frequencies. But with this, it allows that option. And I think that's worth something, especially when it's natively included in the engineering process, as opposed to the Node 202, where I had to modify the case manually in order to fit a 120 millimeter AIO for my CPU. So I think this is cool. I'm a mini ITX enthusiast, in case you guys haven't figured that out yet. I really love form factor cases and cramming as much power into the smallest footprint as possible. So I back this, and I would say I'm going to fund this because I already have. Paul, what are your thoughts on this case? Do you think it's stupid? Do you think it's just dumb and I wasted my money? Assuming that these guys follow through with their promise.
So if I'm being very critical here, when I look at these types of cases, they all seem to have a very similar layout to me.
Yes.
Which would be my only main critique, but I mean, it really ends there. So I mean, you got a chamber up here for the graphics card. You have a Mini ITX mounting point right here. It seems like they've been a little bit more clever with where you could potentially mount a liquid cooler, like a radiator, which goes right in this section right here. And I also saw, at least in one or two of the other images, they have a variety of drive cages that you can also mount there, or whatever, if you're not going to put a rad in. Mm-hmm. So that seems pretty flexible.
Woo-woo.
And I guess $130, I mean, that's not terrible.
No.
I
don't think so. It's
So,
made out of what, like an aluminum
steel?
or steel?
Aluminum?
It's a metallic type of material that is more durable than the Node 202. I already have a crack in my Node 202.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I think
you did cut in half one of the main supports.
But that's not where the crack came from. The crack came from some stupid TSA agents or like the Southwest people throwing my bag, carelessly onto the plane or whatever it was. But with this, I'd never have to worry about that.
Okay.
So, He's an aerospace. The guy who makes it's an aerospace engineer. You have to trust him. He works for NASA. He does space stuff.
That is a fancy thing to be able to say.
Yeah.
All right. So no, I don't blame you
Aircraft
for
grade.
investing in this. Again, $130 doesn't seem that bad. Like
Yeah.
I feel like $100 for a solid case is a reasonable price. So $30 more for something that they probably need to ask for a little bit more money from because it's an Indiegogo and they need to, get the manufacturing underway and everything.
Yeah.
When are they sending you?
I don't know. When?
July.
I don't know. July. Yes.
All right.
So we'll see.
So,
Come Computex time,
Yeah, we'll see.
maybe have a review for you guys. We'll do a build in it.
yeah. Cool. All right.
Yeah. So let's move on to our next
the
one. The next crowdfunded campaign was NOLO,
NOLO.
which sounds very much like YOLO.
VR motion tracking for mobile and Steam VR Play.
So this allows you to do room scale with your mobile VR solution. So this has already been funded $81,000 out of its $50K goal, which obviously it's surpassed that almost twofold. It's the first front-facing room scale motion tracking system for mobile VR. So one of the limitations with mobile VR that I always was like, yeah, this is not VR at all, was that you didn't have room scale, which meant you couldn't move around your room and have the game follow you around. There was no sensors and things like that. You didn't have your motion tracking with your arms and things and whatnot. But with this potential device, you have a full kit or a full set of technologies at your disposal, including the hand remotes, the wands, the controllers, as well as sensors that track your movements in-game, which allow you to play Steam VR games, including Tilt Brush, Job Simulator, Space Pirate Trainer, and more, which is pretty awesome. This allows you to have a higher-end experience on the VR scale without having to fork out the $800 or $600 that come along with a HTC Vive or Oculus Rift. So I thought this was pretty cool, especially since the price for this kit is only $99 for the early bird special. It's a little bit more, obviously, if that runs out. But for $100, I think this is a great way to improve your VR experience overall on the mobile side of things, just because it gives you a lot more functionality. The cool thing is that it is compatible with Steam VR. And I'd say that would be the big bummer if it was only compatible with Android games or iOS games, because developers aren't developing VR mobile games with room scale in mind. But if this device is compatible with Steam VR, then you can take advantage of all that. So, what do you think? Stupid? Kind of cool?
So I can see how they're making it much less expensive here because they are bypassing most of the most expensive stuff that goes into a VR headset, which is the technology that's in the actual displays themselves.
Yeah.
Behind each eye. So yeah, it's cool that it's $99. I would really, really want to see people give a side-by-side comparison to something like this versus an HTC Vive or an Oculus Rift, because I know a big part of the requirements for those are 90 FPS per eye.
Yeah.
And making sure there's a minimum of input lag, and even stuff like the lenses that they use and the compounds, like the glass array that's behind there to sort of warp the display to match up with your eye and everything. So yeah, it's definitely a lot more affordable, and so that definitely seems useful and accessible. I would hesitate to. I would hesitate to draw comparisons between this and a Rift or a Vive.
Sure.
Without being able to compare it directly, because much like I often complain when somebody takes something like even a Daydream VR, like a Google, that's a much more full-featured thing, or something like the Google Cardboard or that kind of thing, and people are like, oh my god, it's VR, and I'm like, it's not really VR.
It's 360
it's not,
video.
Yeah, it's immersive 360 video, and there's still a separation between full VR experience and what you're doing with something like that.
True.
So this still seems like not quite that full VR experience to me, but again, who knows? Maybe maybe cell phones can surprise you when used in an application like this, and it's actually more.
I don't know. I mean, if you can
than-
play Space Pirate Trainer with this, that seems like full VR to me.
You can
move around the map and stuff.
display Space Pirate Trainer, but is the frame rate going to be enough that you're going to feel comfortable as you're aiming and shooting and stuff? Is it going to be fun to play a fast-paced VR game?
Yeah.
In using hardware that might not be able to keep up with it? Like those are very important metrics that the HTC and Oculus wanted to hit.
Yeah.
Because they knew people needed to be able to
get
have
nauseous without
a more seamless experience to reduce or eliminate nausea, and without those things, I'm skeptical of the actual full-on experience. But again,
of course, at the same time, I think technology like this is kind of pushing the boundaries and putting pressure on the mobile market to actually start releasing mobile devices that push the boundaries of refresh rate that's been known currently on existing devices. Like, I think this is going to catapult higher refresh rates on phones. Like, inevitably. Like, the next few generations of phones, I think we're going to start to see 60 hertz, 90 hertz, 90 FPS, or 90 hertz on cell phones, on smartphones, because there's been such a push in the VR market when it comes to mobile. So I think without these kinds of leaps and bounds, even though it might be a bit premature, I think it's still driving the overall mobile market for VR forward, which can, in the end, I think eventually provide a very comfortable solution for maybe people who are more on a budget. So
I can agree with that.
Yeah, that's kind of cool. So let's move on to our last to fund or not to fund. So far, these have been pretty interesting at the very least. But here's one that I just threw in because who knows? This could be very stupid. This is the Cellfly Smart Flying Phone Case Camera, which I still don't know what it is. It's $190,000 funded out of its $125,000 goal, so it's already funded. $89 for this thing, the early bird special. It's essentially a selfie stick killer that takes form as a drone that kind of attaches and kind of is built into your cell phone case that you can deploy at any time, and it's completely automated. So you don't have a controller, you don't control it in any way. You just let it hover. Let it hover off your hand, and it just does things. It just fucking takes pictures of you and your friends having a picnic, as you see here, and I think it's for taking selfies. I think Austin Evans would love this, but I don't know if this is like, if some people are thinking like this is awesome. I mean, there's definitely a market for it because it's already been funded, but I don't know. I mean, what would you rather have, Paul? Would you rather have a selfie stick? Or would you rather have this automated drone that runs on battery life but is completely hands-free from a literal standpoint?
I'm trying to get the vaguest idea of image quality from this video.
Right.
Because the vast majority of shots they've shown are shots of the thing flying.
Right.
Versus... See, like, that's not the
camera.
That's not the camera.
I'm wondering...
So what's the quality of the actual camera that's in there? All right, it says 1080p 30 FPS.
Right.
8 megapixel.
Yeah, but that means nothing if the sensor is absolute shit.
Can it record in that resolution?
Well, yeah, it can record in that resolution. But I don't know, like, what the megapixel count is if you could actually take still photos. I don't prepare for this show. I don't fucking know.
So, the idea is that it's a camera case, so it's, like, always there on your phone?
Yeah, it's for those moments where, like, you might be hiking. Be like, oh, this would be great to, like, get a shot of me with, like, Grand Canyon in the background, but there's no one around to take a picture of you or you whoever you're with. So you just drone it. You just pop it out and take some B-roll. But, I don't know. I feel like it looks slim enough. It looks slim enough to fit in your pocket relatively okay. Obviously, it's going to add some bulk to your phone, but it doesn't look terrible. It looks manageable. It's just a matter of, like, you have to have a really active lifestyle for this to be worth it. I feel like you have to be on the move. You have to be like,
it's like you need to, if you take regular walks down, like, very dramatic looking sea cliffs or something, like, this is for you.
Yeah. If you're a photographer,
all right.
you're on multiple shoots, different areas, part of the world.
I want to see a bunch of comparisons of the image quality of the videos and photos that are taken by the actual camera, because that's my biggest concern is the quality of the lens, the quality of this and the sensor that's in this thing, because that's gonna, Yep. There you go.
And someone made a good point. If it's in your pocket all the time, it could get an accumulation of like dirt and buildup and like lint.
Stuff,
you know, things like that. Yeah. Do not know how long it flies for, but I'd imagine if you're just taking selfies, it's probably okay. It probably doesn't need that long to kind of steady and take pictures. But yeah, I agree with you, Paul. It's hard to say. It's hard to gauge what the actual quality of the video is, what the camera sensor can do. And I think that's, I don't know. I feel like at $89, it's probably going to be not great. It'll probably be okay.
Yeah.
At the best. So, depends on what you're looking for.
There you go.
But, yeah, that's to fun or not to fun.
Yay.
I can't wait for my Inverse Mini ITX case. It's going to be awesome.
July?
July.
It's going to be after Computex.
July, yes. It'll be post Computex. It'll be something to sink my teeth into
so
then.
we should do an X299 build with whatever ASRock Mini ITX X299 motherboard ASRock comes out with. And
64 gigs. I'll have two 32 gig DIMMs in there. It'll be custom water cooled. I'll fit a pump res in there. I'll make it happen. Yeah, right. Actually, speaking of which, let's move on to Pimp My PC because I've got some other fun stuff going on here. Let's take a look at Daniel. Daniel with his build. Oh, okay. So I decided to do something fun for Pimp My PC today.
You did?
Yes. Instead of like analyzing and critiquing people's like builds that like need help, I wanted to like rename this segment just for today. Pimped PCs.
Pimped PCs.
Because I got a lot of entries today that were actually systems that look really good that don't require any pimping because they are already officially pimped.
Like, there's nothing I can do here.
Nothing I can do. So you guys didn't give me much to work with, so I've kind of turned it into an alternative segment, which I hopefully think you'll appreciate, because there's a lot of good stuff here, and I think maybe it'll inspire some of you for future builds of your own. So let's move on to Daniel.
Daniel, my God.
Yeah, good lord, man. This is like Hotline's sexy twin sister.
That's gorgeous.
Good lord. Yeah, I love the pink and white. It is super sexy. Fucking milk, yo.
Enthusiast
with a 6700K. 1080 a GTX 1080 for the win.
Why does it say 2X?
2X. I don't know what 6700K 2X.
Two 1080 for the wins. It's an SLI.
Oh, yes. All right. There was a weird comma between them. 64 gigs of RAM, 2 terabyte SSD, and two 256 gig M.2s. Holy Jesus! With a really nice MSI titanium motherboard in there. Good lord, man. This is beautiful. I mean, even the cable sleeving is so on point. Yeah, Pepto-Bismol, that's exactly what people were saying when I built Hotline for the first time, but this is just immaculate. This is super professional, high grade. Your tubing is on point. Like, all the bends here are very straight. They seem very aligned, very symmetrical, and parallel with each other and all that stuff.
Got a flow indicator up there.
Flow indicator for the win. I love them. I really like how you went with the chrome fittings. I think that was a good choice. Also, the fans, how they even look like you've got some pink blades on there that you spray painted. I think a bit of outside customization and modding had to come into play here. I also think he potentially spray painted the grommet in that case there, the bottom grommet. I think that's natively black. No?
Yeah, potentially.
I think that might be a custom job there, and also the back wall where your cables are going in, like your PCIe cables and your ATX. That's all custom there as well, which looks very seamless. You almost don't notice it from first glance.
Yeah. What
material is that?
what was put in there to make that very clean and not? That's interesting.
Looks very, very clean and precise. So damn clean. Yes, Spider, indeed. And I just like how you have everything arranged here. Like how the pump is like kind of settled on those fans, and you've got a nice drain system there. And I love the white Corsair LPX RAM. Everything just looks really nice. Very well done.
One last thing, the LED backlight on the desk itself, apart from the case,
it matches
beautifully.
Yep.
So very well done.
Maybe you took took a page out of Hotline's book, you know, with the pink accent line back there. Who knows?
You do have that going on.
I like to think that I'm a pioneer of pink.
Indeed.
Pink and stink.
Thank you so much, Daniel.
Move on to Slightly Crispy.
Beautiful build.
Another 6700K here. Another custom water-cooled build in another Fantex case with the MSI Z270X Power Titanium. So we've actually got a Z270 board in here with a Skylake CPU. And oh, you got EVGA hybrid. Oh, it doesn't say what exactly your video card is. I would imagine it's a 1080 or 1070.
This is a very recent build then.
Yes, very clean, no dust. Super sexy.
I like the application of the clear tubing with clear fluid. You don't see that as often, but yes. I think it works here.
Yes, it does. Looks like an aquarium or something. I don't know. I really do like the liquid option that you've stuck with. I think the RAM is probably the only thing that I'm a little head scratching on. I think like some blue dims or even some white or black dims would have gone better with than the red.
The red stands out, and there's not much else in the case to go along with that.
When the LEDs are on, it looks a little bit less noticeable, but other than that, very very clean job. Makes me want to do a system with another custom water cooled build with that kind of coolant.
Soon.
I think that'd be pretty sweet. Very soon. Very, very soon.
Thank you, Slightly Crispy.
Yes, indeed. Also nice on those Thermaltake RGB fans. We've also got Eric with a mini ATX build here. This is kind of more of a budget or mid-range to entry level Core i3-6100 CPU from Intel, 16 gigs of RAM. And a B150 motherboard rocking a GTX... What was it? No. Oh, GTX 1060. GTX 1060, 3 gig. Which, I don't know, everything looks really nice inside of the system. It's not high-end by any means, but the cable management for a chassis of this form factor is pretty impressive. It looks very clean. It looks like...
That's an Integra power supply.
I like how you went with the mini GTX 1060 from EVGA instead of going with like a full-length card. I think it saves you some additional space, probably better on your thermals as well. It doesn't cramp up the chassis overall. The Be Quiet cooler is also a really nice choice. I think that's probably a Pure Slim Rock or Pure Rock. Probably a Pure Rock Slim or something like that. I don't know. But Be Quiet coolers are very reliable, and they do perform quite well as well. Tons of airflow as well. You've got, additionally from your CPU cooler, you've got a couple fans.
Those are Mach 2 Redux fans.
Redux.
Those are very nice, I think 80 or 90 millimeter fans.
Yeah. Yeah, so looks like you've got airflow taken care of as well. The only thing I would say here is maybe get a sleeved extension for your 24-pin ATX.
That is really the only thing about this build that stands out as critiquable.
Yep.
Even with that, it doesn't look terrible. I mean...
No.
Yeah, it doesn't. Yeah. It doesn't match with anything, but it's
clean.
It's still cleanly cable managed.
Yep. And the only reason why I would suggest that is because that case does have looks like a top panel window.
Yeah, I think so.
But other than that, man, beautiful little mini system there.
Great job, Eric.
Well balanced as well. Next up, we've got Kyle.
Kyle Kruger.
Not me, Kyle Kruger, different Kyle. Now this is pretty inspiring. This is an N-Case M1. Which is was very very popular on Kickstarter, I believe, and is a very well engineered mini ITX case. I was actually so lucky to be given one or have borrowed one from Crafty Hack on Twitter. If you guys want to follow him, he sent this to me earlier this week, and it arrived with a radiator and all. And I'm probably going to do a build in it because it's awesome. And it looks really awesome. So I'm probably going to do something similar to this in the future. Maybe just do a regular non-custom water-cooled system at first and then build upon that. But it looks like Kyle has done a very nice job kind of doing some soft tubing in here. He's got a custom the EK water block, of course, on his CPU, as well as a custom EK water block on the GPU.
That external pump reservoir is kind of cool.
Yeah, definitely. And I think the one that Crafty sent me actually has like a... not proprietary, but it's a pump, or I'm sorry, a reservoir that's custom made for the N-Case that mounts on the inside of that 80 millimeter fan mount.
Oh, nice.
Which is really kind of cool. I'd still need to find a place for the pump, but I think you've done a bang-up job here, Kyle, trying to fit everything inside or even outside of the case.
So it looks like, from what I can tell, and this is
240
only
rad.
because I've used them before, I think you have EK Vardar, Furious Vardar fans.
Furious.
The Furious Vardars, because they have red sleeving on the cables.
Oh, yeah.
I actually have a set that's like this.
Aren't they kind of loud?
They have a very high RPM range, so if you can cut the speed down very significantly by using inline resistors or fan speed control, yes, they can be very loud. But they're very powerful as well. I mean,
Of course, yeah.
yeah. So
Bit of trade-off there.
that stands out to me. I want to say, just because you have the Asus Z170i Pro Gaming motherboard,
Yeah.
that you should do the mod on it that I did on mine. Where you take
Yes.
the Pro Gaming logo off and then
Spray paint black.
spray paint the heat sinks,
Indeed.
and then it makes it a lot stealthier.
Yep. In his instance, it works because the red sleeve cables.
It does match with the red sleeve cables, so that's obviously not a huge deal. But it's just because it's the exact same motherboard that I used for that mod, so
Yeah.
I think that's good. Anyway, Kyle, very nice system though.
Yeah.
Very, very, very lovely.
Indeed.
All right. Next we
Very
have
inspiring.
Trevor Voss.
Trevor. 6600K, GTX 1070, Asus Z170 board, 16 gigs of RAM, two 500 gig 850 EVO SSDs, and so forth. So this is in the S340 Elite, it looks like, with the tempered glass side panel. This is the white version, I believe, as well. Yes, very nice. I did a build in this recently for December's PC of the month, and I can confirm, excellent case. Very, very nice theme going on here. You've got the full, actually kind of similar to the build that I did in December with the X52 AIO cooler, as well as the RGB air fans, which all sync up so beautifully nice in the CAM software. And it looks like you've definitely taken advantage of that with kind of like a red, black, and white theme, which I like. I like this a bit more right now than the just standard black and red. I see black and red all too often, so throw in a third color in there. It's kind of nice. It's kind of refreshing.
Yeah.
Cabling looks good. Cable management looks on point. And it looks like you've already dabbled in the CAM software to kind of create some custom lighting profiles for your rig. I really like the RGB, or I'm sorry, the red audio LED on the audio trace layout on your motherboard. The audio trace cutout looks very nice.
Do you notice how much I'm just comparing your screen over here with this?
Yeah.
Look how...
Just how much more dynamic range there is.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's so true. Oh my
like,
god.
there's no detail at all in
That's
this
true.
lower area
All
here,
this,
and
you can see the SSD.
Like, you can't even really see the SSD.
Damn. These freaking Razer screens, man.
You need to calibrate this monitor.
Good lord. I mean, yeah, I shall, but it's nice that this is
pretty
just works out of the
significant.
box.
Anyway,
Agreed.
I like the NZXT-Q Plus being mounted in the 2.5-inch bay here.
It's a good way to show it off. Yeah.
Because it does have an LED that's active on it,
Mhm.
and that would actually adjust with the RGB controls that you do for other LEDs connected to it. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah. But overall, very nice build, Trevor.
Thanks, Trevor.
That is going to conclude it for Pimp My PC.
Lovely.
Or should I say Pimped PCs. And we can just roll into some quick Q&A. Maybe just take the top 3 or 4 questions.
We should just do the donation
just
questions.
Donation questions. All right, $5 from Automatic Matt.
It's 8:07 already.
You're right. I am hungry as hell. $5. Don't even bother asking questions in chat. We'll get you later. Tweet at me, bro. $5 from Automatic Matt.
Thanks, Matt.
Thank you guys for the support. I should be fine once I don't have to rappel a 2 or 3 story tall tower, and they let me start working on servers and networks. Keep it real, guys. I'm gone. When I'm gone, thanks for the support. I should be fine once I don't have to rappel. Okay, it repeats itself.
Some of these get repeated.
Some
yes.
double. Well, thank you, Matt. Thank you, Matt.
Thanks,
and
Matt.
appreciate it. You're welcome for all the support that we've given you and how awesome we are. $5 again from Matt A. Maybe a different Matt. Cable Mod is watching. Thank you, Paul. Try to donate a lump of coal for Kyle. Didn't
Thank you,
work.
Cable Mod.
Usually doesn't.
They're recognizing that I'm respectful of them.
You're
Kyle's
just
not.
You're just pining for an endorsement deal, aren't you? You're doing well. You're doing well.
I like Cable Mod.
They're gonna drop me any second now.
Probably.
But all right, €5. No, those are British pounds. From
GBP.
Nordry, Icknell, and beer and money for Kyle too. Thanks for not leaving me out. I appreciate that. You know, like you gotta include the little guys here and there. So thank you very much, Nordry. I appreciate that. Bex Mister. Bex Mr. 92, $5 donation. Love the content. Here's $5 towards the baby oil. God damn it.
No.
Baby oil fund for the 100th episode. At some point, something's got to give.
I don't know.
And one of us is going to cave and bust out a vat of baby oil and just dump it on the other.
I just need to get in shape. I need to get in better shape.
Yeah.
I feel like if I'm going to have an exposed torso, because I feel like that's part of it.
As soon as Paul and I have ripped six-pack abs,
that's when
it'll happen.
The baby oil will happen.
Of course. So,
obviously.
So anytime now. $5 from 1-800 got him. Great work, guys. You give me the confidence to take my side panels off. Kisses. Well, kisses right back to you. Side panels off, bitches. It's like the nerd equivalent of going topless. I can vouch for that. $5 from Dylan. No, that says Dylan.
Dylan O'Neill.
Dylan O'Neill. You guys should really do something with Gamers Nexus if possible. Love the content. I'm donating to the sushi fund.
Ooh, sushi.
Ooh, we love sushi. And we love Gamers Nexus. Maybe we'll do a...
Yeah, we're... I don't know if we're allowed to talk about that.
I don't know either.
We're doing a thing later this week that Gamers Nexus will also be at, or at least I think Steve is going to.
Yeah.
So we're at least going to hang out with him. And we may or may not do a video or something. It really depends on time and everything. But
maybe we'll eat sushi with Steve while dousing ourselves in baby oil.
Yes, but we're happy to maintain positive relations with Gamers Nexus. And
they're the shit, man.
Yeah, they're good people.
They are the best. $5 from Grandmaster Chubbs. Baby oil, yeet yeet.
Thanks, Grandmaster Chubbs.
Those are the best. Those are the best donations where they just say baby oil, yeet yeet.
Yeah.
10 British pounds from I Love Cat Weasel.
I love Cat Weasel.
Brilliant name. Love the show. It's all well and good NVIDIA producing their own cards, but they completely messed up pricing for all last year. Yeah. I do agree that they set their bar very high and didn't really deliver what they had promised in their initial press launches, which Paul and I were there for in Austin.
Yeah.
But
well, they were broadcasting a price that you couldn't buy the card at, and people were upset about that. Yep. So that's understandable. But yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Thank you for your donation, though, Cat Weasel.
Indeed. $15 from Short 9000. Love the skits, Kyle. Keep up the good work to both of you. Why, thank you very much. More skits on the way, actually. Got another one in the pipeline.
I want to be in one of your skits.
Yeah? Okay.
Sure. If you come up with an idea for a skit, and you could, another person could be there. Yeah.
I'm tired of playing all the roles by myself. It really is exhausting and lots of work.
I don't have quite the range that you do, but there's a certain subset of like characters that I could probably pull off.
Of course, I've got some ideas in the pipeline that we can work together on.
Wonderful.
$10 from Adam Lappert. Hey guys, thanks for being awesome. Pun intended. Whoa! Quick question about a graphics card for an HTPC. Is it necessary? If so, can you recommend one? You don't need a graphics card unless you're doing 4K.
Or unless you're gaming. I mean, if you want to game on the HTPC, then you do want a graphics card.
Sure.
If you're going to do 4K, then you need something that has decent decoding capabilities.
Yes.
By and large, especially if you're just at 1080, no, you don't need a GPU.
Sure.
And as long as you have any decently recent modern CPU that has an iGPU in it, it can handle it just fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, AMD APUs, if you need to do very, very light gaming and you want something reasonably priced that can handle a lot of video tasks, I think are a good solution for that.
Indeed. $10 from Thievy Chow. I always have to say your name like that, Thievy. Real quick, I'm considering upgrading to a 4K monitor, 4770K to 7700K Asus Maximus Impact Mini ITX to Asus Z170 iGaming Mini ITX. Thoughts? They're also compatible too, right? Yes.
Alright, if you're upgrading to a 7700K,
yeah.
Look at the Asus Z270 stuff because
it's compatible. And
it's compatible.
It's the latest.
If you can get the Z170i Gaming Mini ITX for significantly cheaper and it does everything you want, then that's just fine. That's totally fine.
Sure.
It's okay to go with that. Yeah, I mean, wait. You're upgrading to a 4K monitor.
I'm confused now. Really your graphics card should be what's in question, which you haven't listed. So as long as you have, if you're gaming, it doesn't say if you're gaming or if you're just playback on the 4K monitor. If you're gaming, then you should have a pretty substantial graphics card to boot, at least a 1070 or 1080, to be honest.
Yeah.
But if you're just doing video playback, then that'll be fine. You don't really need a Z270 board for 4K playback, or even just light gaming and stuff, unless you're trying to get like an Optane Intel SSD in there for caching or something like that. But that looks fine to me. I think you're good. I'm just going to say go for it. And if it doesn't work out for you, I didn't say anything.
I agree.
It's not my fault. All right. I think that's all we have for donations. We can go ahead and quickly call out some Johnson shoutouts.
Lovely.
Oh my god. Okay, let's just quickly roll through these.
Oh my god, what?
You guys are monsters. Jack!
Do you
Jack!
Do you have many Johnsons?
Yo, Jack off you! BIOS Flasher shirt and a CPU cooler shirt. Thank you very much, sir. We've also got another one from Nick. Nick P. Nick and the P. CPU cooler shirt. Thank you very much, Nick. Johnson to you, sir. Douglas Mack for picking up a mug. It picked up an overclocking mug. Those will help you get jump started in your mornings. Sean H for picking up a Stay Positive shirt as well as a pint glass. Thank you very much for picking up a pint glass. Those should be fun. And Zach E for picking up a Stay Positive graphite hoodie. Woo! Take advantage of that $10 off. All right.
Lovely.
Anything on the
Nope.
Paul server front? Okay.
Anyone who wanted to buy stuff from me bought it during my half of the show, so that's totally fine.
Indeed.
Shoutouts again to you guys who did do that.
Yes.
And yeah, thanks to all you guys for watching the show tonight.
Indeed, you guys are awesome. We will probably not be doing an after party tonight because Paul and I have a bunch of stuff to finish up on our own ends on our channels, but that just means that there's a lot of good content coming from both of us in the next coming days. So you should be happy. Thank you again. Be sure to toss a like on this video if you enjoyed it. If you're watching us from YouTube, we will be back again next Tuesday at 5:30 p.m. Pacific. And until next time, we love you all. Have a good one, good night, and all that stuff. Peace.
Thanks,
Peace
everybody.
and love and chicken grease.
Good night.
And all that. Good night.